Jim Penman. He's the millionaire mogul famous for his lawn mowing empire and for picking fights with premiers.
He's the worst political leader in Australia since Federation. I cannot think of anybody remotely as bad as this.
It all kicked off when then Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews told sole traders to down tools back in 2020.
There'll be no cleaners going to your house, there'll be no one mowing your lawns.
Jim's Mowing declared a non-essential service during the COVID lockdowns.
I would defy the Premier to name one person in Australia or anywhere in the world who has caused or caught an infection while working alone in somebody's garden.
I send my best wishes to that business and every business.
Over the course of the pandemic, sole traders were offered relief payments from the state and federal governments.
I also don't want people to forget that there's a $1,000 a week payment to sole traders.
But many didn't make the cut.
Heartbroken sole traders claim they've been forgotten.
Here I am on my knees begging for someone just to listen to me.
Ever since, Jim has been on a quest, demanding solo operators be compensated for lockdown losses. Jim's argument: sole traders were denied the right to earn a living for no good reason when council workers doing the same job were allowed to work.
The government's own law says that they will not take away our livelihood without good reason. So what's your reason?
Taking his fight to court, Jim requested access to the health advice the Victorian government relied on, but was knocked back. And now his appeal has also been rejected. It's been 2 years since Jim began his legal battle. Since then, he's pranked Australia by pretending to secede from Victoria.
I will be King Jim I.
Forming a new nation called Jimland.
We have decided to free ourselves from the tyrannical and unjust rule of Chairman Andrews, cursed be his name.
And launched a new business venture, Jim's Beauty.
Lawn mowing it's all waxing, it's all the same kind of thing. It's just different equipment, isn't it?
Jim hasn't taken his eyes off the prize, vowing to carry on the compensation fight.
Jim's here now. Jim, the pandemic has been officially over for almost a year and most people don't even want to think about it anymore. So why are you still fighting this?
Because this is not the last pandemic we'll ever face. It's going to happen again in the future, and I think it's absolutely vital the next time it does that we take measures designed to preserve the health of the population rather than to feed politicians' ego.
So you've lost your battle in court, you've had your appeal rejected. At this point it looks like it's kind of the end of the road. What happens now?
We are looking at possible appeals. Advice from our lawyers is we're unlikely to succeed, but we are still going to consider it. I think it's a fight worth fighting for. Look, the lockdowns caused immense damage. I was in the middle of it. I know 2 men who lost their marriages, their homes, their families. I know a young kid, 20-year-old, who's committed suicide. When you lock people down, you cause a lot of damage, and that should not happen again.
Yeah, there's no doubt that the devastating consequences of the lockdowns, this is what happens in pandemics, right? They are terrible, terrible times. We saw in other parts of the world huge amounts of death from the virus itself. In this particular case, sole traders were offered support payments. Some said they didn't make the cut because they didn't earn enough. But given it was a pandemic, what do you think the government could have done that would have been responsible from a virus management point of view?
Well, the same as other state governments did, like in New South Wales. They actually reacted in a much more sensible, balanced fashion. Look, I wasn't against reasonable precautions. Shutting down restaurants, shutting down churches, didn't like it. Happened, OK, fine. Supported vaccination. What I believe is that you should have a proper policy designed to preserve public health, both physical and mental health. Victoria actually had the toughest lockdown policies of any state and the worst result, the most deaths in proportion to population. What they did was unnecessary.
Jim, am I right in thinking that as part of this case you asked for the health advice from the government that they had based their decision-making on and you were denied it?
Yes, which is a clear admission there was no health advice. There couldn't be, otherwise they would have given it. In fact, of course, the government did have health advice. They put out a 4-page treatment on the Saturday, who's shut down, who isn't. At the top of it, right at the first page, sole operators working by themselves can operate. The Premier then gets up at a press conference on the following Wednesday, I think it was, and shut us down. Why? It was just a pure political whim. And he figured that if he kept to his guns, it'd make him a few brownie points. He'd be more popular.
Is there a danger here, Jim, that if you lose, and you say yourself that your lawyers think chances of winning are very slim, that actually you're not going to take a stand against this policy. You're not going to make it harder the next time. You're actually going to confirm that it's a perfectly legitimate and legal policy and make it more likely that that sort of thing will happen again.
I don't believe the general public agrees with what that was reasonable. Even the council workers who were permitted to work in groups wrote to me and said this is an outrageous policy. I think the fuss that we're making makes it far less likely they'll do the same ridiculous thing in future.
Jim, last year it emerged that you were planning to secede from Victoria and start your own country called Jimland. I think it's great. It turned out to be a joke.
It's a shame.
I mean, I'm there. Your lawn would always be mowed. It'd be a great place to live. Is there a part of you that wishes you really could do that?
Well, let me tell you, I wish we had different government in Victoria. I'd love to join Tasmania. They have much better policies, but not very practical. However, we've raised a few $1,000s for men's shed, so it's a worthy cause.
All right, Jim, it's great to talk to you. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.